It's been about 2 weeks since the last garden updates. We'll go ahead and do one today while I'm going through the watering process, and things have certainly changed, as you can see behind me. Onions are doing fantastic, and a few of them are even starting to bulb. You can see one here that's looking like it's in pretty good shape. It won't be long before that one's actually able to be harvested. The flower box within the garden has really started to take off. Looks like the marigolds are getting ready to put a couple of flowers out, and everything else is doing fairly well. This particular petunia is struggling more than the other ones, but I think this will come back, especially if I open up this marigold and give it some more light. This particular box has a net, again, to cover it from pests. The rabbits really like the celery in this area. I also grow lettuce within this box. And the way the timing works out here is I actually had lettuce planted between the celery plants. You can see one back here that's yet to be harvested, but has gone to flower. The timing works out pretty perfect, in which I can harvest the lettuce and then give the celery more room to grow. Pretty soon I'll harvest the remainder of the lettuce over here, starting with the potatoes, which I do have in grow bags. And this is a fantastic way to grow potatoes for a couple of reasons. First, see, I actually have the bag folded down around here. As the potatoes grow up, you can actually unfold this. This will help contain the potatoes. If you're used to growing potatoes within your garden, you'll notice that they sprawl out fairly large, and this is a great way of containing those potatoes, just allowing you to maximize the space that you use for other plants. Second, by cuffing the bag like this, as the potatoes begin to grow, if you have indeterminate tomatoes that start poking out, you can actually heal them up just by adding dirt into the bag and then unfolding the cuff. Here's an angle from further out where you can really see how vertical these potatoes grow as opposed to becoming horizontal and spreading out, taking up tons of room in your garden. The mint is a repellent for a lot of pests in this area, more specifically the deer, and this actually needs to be trimmed, but we'll do that in a minute. Not necessarily growing this to harvest it, so it's okay to be a little unkept, but I will keep this in check. A few flowers here for pollinators, and this particular plant has tons of flowers up top, so looking forward to that in the next week or so. There's a full box of carrots here, and I'll thin those out and just eat them as baby carrots to give them more room. Same idea with the back of the box shown here. In the front of this box, I'll actually pull these carrots and plant rosemary here. Some various greens, lettuce, even some radish. Most of this, aside from the radishes, was actually found within the garden itself from plants that had gone to seed, and I just transplanted over here. The first row of tomatoes here are all indeterminate varieties. There's a bunch of different kinds, just some of the ones that I prefer. You're actually starting to get tomatoes on many of the plants within the garden, not just the indeterminate ones. The tomatoes have all been pruned, and this is to allow additional airflow. I really like to make sure that there are no leaves touching the ground. That'll also help prevent disease. The additional airflow is also nice for staving off disease. On an indeterminate plant, you want to remove all of the suckers. This will allow you to grow up just one main stem, and it's as simple as doing that. You're going to have the main stem here, sun leaves coming off, and anything that grows in between is going to be a sucker. Here's another example right here, and this one has just started, so we'll go ahead and remove that, and I'm going to leave both of these for now, just so let's see which one of the leads ends up growing better. The situation is different on a determinate type tomato. This is because it's only going to grow to a certain height, so you actually want to use these suckers or additional main stems to get more tomatoes. You'll still want to prune the plant, make sure there are no leaves touching the ground, but you can actually prune the suckers up until the first set of flowers, and after that you'll leave them, and that'll just allow you to get more tomatoes during the season. Cherry tomatoes are coming along fantastic, and pretty much all of these plants actually have set tomatoes by this point. I think I see only one that has not. I always keep a marigold in the middle of this box, and that just helps prevent aphids from getting on the plants. It's got a beautiful marigold right in the middle of the box. It's actually got a couple more buds coming out as well. Strawberries have already been producing fruit, and we've been eating these for about a week now. And this plant's got a bunch of fruit. They're a little bit smaller in size this time of year, but they'll continue to grow and just get better with every week. A few Roma tomatoes. These are a sauce tomato. This is fantastic, another determinate type variety here. And what I like to do with these is actually start a second succession in about another week or two. The reason for that is because all of the indeterminate tomatoes seen here will continue to grow along the season. But the row here that is full of determinate tomatoes will only grow to a certain height, and typically they produce the majority of their food all at one time. So once that first flourish is done, I want to make sure that there's another plant ready to go in its place. That allows us to get more tomatoes that we can then make in sauce and keep for the year. Virtually all of the eggplants in the garden have been bothered by pests. This happens pretty much every season, but the plants still continue to produce and catch up regardless, so we don't really do much about it here. The largest sunflower is a little over a foot at this point, and it's starting to get a little prickly, so the caging is no longer needed. This is just to keep baby rabbits out, which actually eat the plants when they're small, but then avoid them once they become prickly. Beans, whether they're pole beans or even pinto beans further down this way, are starting to grow and attaching themselves to the trellis. We will add another layer to this so that they continue to grow up another 4 feet or so. In about 6 weeks from now, this will just be a giant wall of leaves, and it's pretty incredible, but this whole thing will be covered in, and it'll be nothing but beans just to pick. Cucumber patch is starting to fill in, and this will take about another week of warm weather. It is expected to be into the 90s for about 4 days next week, so I would expect to see a lot of growth here. A couple of basil plants which have been pruned just once, so they're starting to branch out, and these will fill in nicely in the next week or so. 2 pepper plants, and these were planted from seed indoors at the exact same time. Did transplant them out into the garden at the exact same time as well, and what a difference. In the pepper box itself, plants are growing nicely. The peppers are always the slowest plants in our particular area, but they will catch up and we will get a set of fruit from them before the end of the year. As we close out, I'll give you a look from the perimeter, and overall the garden's in great health for this time of year. Expecting to get a pretty good harvest as the months come along. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.